Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of Start Select. Coming up on this week's show, we're going to be looking at the iPhone and the iPod Touch and seeing if they really are viable gaming platforms. And we're going to be announcing the competition winner of this, the Gemma Atkinson signed 2009 calendar. But first, me and Drew are going to check out a couple of PlayStation 3 betas. All right, so you're joining us down in the GameSpot games room now. I'm joined by Drew Stern.
Hi there.
Hello, Drew. How you doing?
I'm not too bad, thank you.
Good. And we're going to run through some of the PlayStation 3 betas that have allowed us to have a look at some of the games that are coming out later in the year or next year. The first one we're going to look at is Killzone II beta, which is one I'm probably quite excited about in terms of like shooters.
Well, the thing is that PlayStation 3 owners are waiting for that killer first-person shooter that's exclusive to their console to lure over all those great games that you already get on the Xbox and PC. And you know, this potentially could be one of them.
Well, I guess Resistance 2 is probably the big one.
I guess that will be the one that will get the most competition.
Or all those eager haze owners, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Really, you have to be really eager, I think, to choose that over this one.
Well, so the beta that we've got, we've been playing it. I think I've had it for about a couple of weeks now. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good. It's got 3 levels in it. It's got obviously the Hellgast and the human factions. You basically you've got the way that the system works is the more that you kill online, the better you do. You can upgrade your character in a number of key areas like the medic and also you can go camouflage and all the rest of it. And the way that works is you also group up in teams of 4 in squads. So everyone helps each other out, and we did just join a squad in the last game we were playing, and I really enjoyed that sort of aspect of it. I like the way that you can specialise your skills because that every shooter needs kind of its own thing. I think this is that's the system for Killzone 2 anyway.
Yeah, that seems to be, and I think will be the unique selling point of this game is that it has that aspect to it. Other than that, though, there aren't that many, of the gameplay at least, that many aspects that we haven't seen before in a lot of games. I mean, you've still got your kind of your standard, run, cover, shoot, grenade kind of attitude and a variety of guns. It looks stunning though.
It plays fairly well, but it's also a little bit generic as well, if you know what I mean. It's in terms of the actual shooter mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who really loves first-person shooters will probably first cut their teeth on PC ones, and the speed of it will never compete to a PC variant of a similar game. I mean, that's fair enough. Console games are never going to be as responsive, as quick as using a keyboard and mouse. But then this goes quite a way in the opposite direction and figures, okay, everyone in this game is going to be on a level playing field. Everyone's going to be using this controller. As a result, it feels quite sluggish. The gameplay, it feels like you're running through treacle a lot of times, and the characters feel like they've got weight, which in a way is kind of nice. You don't feel like you're just dancing about and jumping miles high just for the sake of it. But on the other hand, it does mean that in a hectic circumstance, you don't always feel like you're in complete control of your character. And for me, that's a bit of a deal breaker on this. It just doesn't feel as responsive.
I mean, one of the things that it does really well, it's got a number of game modes, like the standard kind of search and retrieve, search and destroy.
Yeah.
In here, like search and retrieve, you've got to deliver basically propaganda speakers.
Yeah.
And there'll be more light shed on that in the single player game, I imagine. But when you're doing that, it feels quite cool. There's quite a cool little world in here, and also one of the great modes that it's got is this. It's just the assault mode, which allows the host of the map to basically choose consecutive different game modes without coming out to the main screen again. Mm-hmm. You know when you keep going into a lobby and something like Call of Duty. In here, you can just keep playing. And
that is cool. Really cool, because there are a lot of games where you'll have consistently the same group of people from lobby to lobby, and you'll stick with that, and you kind of get to know those people and you kind of live with it. In this, it really is, you're staying inside that world with those people, you never leave, and it's just the object of the game changes. Yeah. That actually freaked me out the first time, because I figured, okay, we've achieved what we're doing, and we're still here. I'm used to being pulled out, being told my stats. But no, this just keeps going, and I can see someone who's really into it just playing that for hours and hours and hours.
It does mean that you stay on the same map.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of the time.
I mean, that can be a problem, but at the moment there are only 3 maps, so that hasn't really been much of a penalty to pay. I don't know whether this is going to be the title that wins a lot of people over to the PlayStation 3 for the sake of it being a platform for a first-person shooter. But if you've committed to the PlayStation 3 and you need a first-person shooter, I think you can do a lot worse.
Alright, so the next game we're going to talk about is this game called Crash Commando. It's only something that I was alerted to, I think maybe 2 weeks ago. It's a new game for the PlayStation Network, and I don't know how to describe it, Drew. I mean, it's like a side-scrolling version of a fast-paced first-person shooter, isn't it?
Yeah, I figured, right, it's a cross between R-Type and Worms.
It felt to me like maybe Unreal Tournament, but like side-scrolling.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
it's
the reason I think it's got something in the way of R-Type is it's got that furious kind of, there's fire everywhere and it's side-scrolling.
Yeah.
But Worms, because you've got this, it's a cartoony kind of atmosphere, crazy weapons, and there's a lot of humor in it and the way it feels. But it's unlike any game. And the thing is, I don't know how it compares to looking at it to actually playing it. I don't think we'll be able to explain quite both how tricky it is and how much fun to play it actually is.
It's based around a quite tricky sounding control system where you move your character with the left analog stick and aim with the right analog stick. So you're basically almost fighting against yourself to kind of control this little guy. But what makes it really addictive to me is his ability to sort of jump in the air and you can almost fly, but only for short periods of time.
Yeah, you seem to have a booster pack of some description, which you've got 2 bars, one that shows you your health and one that shows you your boost. You can kind of do this kind of bunny hop where you float through the air a little bit, but
cool.
it's mainly about finding your enemies and shooting them. Actually, when you get into it, the secondary guns that you can have and the grenades form a really big part of it. And I've never seen a game that's utilized depth in the same way. In a 2D-ish kind of game, there are 2 clear platforms, 2 clear planes of view.
And you move between the 2 when you want.
Yeah, and like aspects like this with a turret, you're looking from one plane to the other plane. And it's, I mean, there's games, if you imagine Little Big Planet having a similar kind of thing where it's got like a 2D plane, but within that you can move back and forth. This is kind of taking that to another level, and it is so much fun. I can imagine it being the most fun out of it would be the multiplayer.
Oh yeah, so we should mention at the moment this is the final build of it, but it's not activated yet. It's going to go live on PlayStation Network later in December.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I downloaded it I think on the weekend. I was playing Little Big Planet and Killzone beta. I ended up playing this for most of the morning. Most of the time that I actually had was playing this. I just enjoyed it immensely. It's really cool. It's just really addictive. I think it will be so much better when you're playing against other people.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is quite possibly, not definitely, but possibly going to be a downside of this game is that because the controls are quite tricky at first, someone who's spent quite a bit of time with this game will have a huge advantage over someone who's just picking it up, and sometimes that can be really difficult for people who are just picking up the game for the first time to try and feel like they're part of it. It just the moving around with the character with the left stick, because you can move them left, right, up and down, but that doesn't change the way you're firing. So you have to change that independently. So you kind of get your thumbs in complete separate coordination. It's not like when you're playing a traditional first-person shooter where it's kind of intuitive where you're trying to point it, and quite quickly you can get the hang of it. This takes just a little bit more time.
Sure.
And in the meantime, if someone has really got it down, they'll be able to fly through the air and spin it off. But in no other game really I've played in a long time do you get quite as much satisfaction by shooting someone and getting that kill like mid-air or something like that.
Exactly, it's when you sort of aim it right and press the trigger and hit someone in mid-air and they go flying. There's lots of little techniques you can use, even just at the beginning, sort of like rocket jumping and all that sort of stuff. I mean, the rocket launcher is my favourite weapon personally. Yeah, I think it's great. And one of the other things that I really enjoy about it is there aren't any here, but the vehicles.
Yeah.
So you can jump in vehicles, and there are tracks laid out all over the levels, and you can just drive a tank, horizontally, and the tank's handling it exactly the same way as the main character. So they've got weapons on them, and they've got the ability to do this jump as well. Like the boosters.
Yeah, you can still use your rockets inside, and you can also still shoot and run over people.
And boost. And running over people is a really easy way to kill people.
The Jeep lets you run over people and you can still shoot, but if you're in the tank, you actually take on the tank's turret as well. You just have a massive cannon. It's a really, really hectic, fun, cartoony game with lots of stupid violence, and it feels like a really nice group game. If you've got a bunch of mates who are all online at the same time,
that'd be brilliant. Yeah.
This is one of those games that can, in the cold winter months, will be able to keep you satisfied.
It's good. It's good. So that's That's Crash Commando. I don't think they've nailed an official release down yet, but it's going to be available on December. I think it's PlayStation Network exclusive at the moment, and I think it's safe to say we're both big fans, right?
Absolutely, I can definitely recommend this.
Alright guys, you may remember on the last edition of Start Select we had this to give away, the Gemma Atkinson signed 2009 calendar. All you had to do was answer the question, what character does Gemma play in Command & Conquer Red Alert 3? The answer of course is Lieutenant Eva McKenna. And our lucky competition winner is Otis Leonikis. So congratulations Otis, this should be adorning your wall shortly. Now coming up next on Start Select, we're going to be looking at the iPhone and seeing if it really is a worthy gaming platform. All right, so I'm joined by Luke Anderson on the sofa. Luke Anderson, the famous GameSpot UK celebrity now, and Andrew Lim, the mobile phone editor for CNET UK. We're going to be talking about the iPhone or the iPod Touch. We've all got one actually, although this is borrowed from Apple. We're talking about lots been said recently about how the iPod is going to take over gaming, and a lot of people are excited about it. Let's start with you, Andrew. How do you feel about it as a device and a gaming platform?
I'm really excited about it, and I think as a device, I think it's great, and I think as a gaming platform, it's great. There's been a lot of criticism around, especially from the gaming press, around the quality of games, and I think part of the reason that's happened is because people's expectations were set really high. But I've been in the mobile industry for years now, and these are the best games I've ever seen on a mobile phone.
Let's look at a couple of examples. Now, you've got one called Galcon,
Yeah,
not Galagon, as I keep calling it.
Galcon. Galcon is one of my favourite games. I just downloaded it the other day and I haven't stopped playing it. So I'll show you what it does. Right, so you go into the menu and you select the level that you're at. I'm a cabin boy at the moment because I'm not very good, and it goes all the way up to Admiral. No, it goes up to Admiral. Grand Admiral. Yeah.
So 10 levels. Okay.
So yeah, crazy amounts of levels.
And you're at the bottom one.
You then select a mission, and you control a bunch of starfighter pilots, whatever you want to call them, and the aim is to take over as many planets as possible. In fact, all the planets before your enemy does, and you do that by dragging the planets that you already have and sending more planes to the other planets.
So the smaller the planet, the less units you have at your disposal?
Not necessarily, no. It's just, it tells you how many you've got, you see how it counts up.
Right.
And you can turn this sideways so that you can use the multi-tap to use two fingers at the same time so that you can dominate the planets, the galaxy, using two thumbs, which is how I roll.
That's how you conquered the galaxy, right? Two thumbs.
So, but it's such a simple game, but it's just really cool. And I don't know if you can hear that, but every time a planet explodes, there's a little sound, and it sounds like that's actually just the guy that's gone to make the sound effect, which I really like. And that's, these smaller developers, that's what these games just have so much character, and that's what I really like about the smaller games. And and the cool thing about Galcon is that you can also play online with other people. So I mean, that's just really great. You type in that game and you have to sign up for an account online, but it's just little things like that really make the iPhone a great platform. It's kind of Commodore 64.
It is, yeah.
80s game, and I think that's the cool thing, is that we're seeing a bit of a 80s, 90s gaming revival.
Retro, cool,
yeah, because a lot of the games that work on these kinds of platforms are old school games, like Pac-Man, like this. So it's great.
All right, cool. So I've got one of my picks is Line Rider, which should be a concept that's familiar to a lot of people that have played it either on the web. It's a Flash-based game, isn't it? I think, but it's also available on the Wii and the DS now. I think it's really cool because it fits the platform really well. You basically just draw a line, and you can see how far this little man goes. So I've drawn a pretty simple line here. Let's see if he survives it. You hit play. Oh no, he doesn't even need to.
Oh,
that's epic fail.
That's terrible, guy.
From the beginning.
Terrible.
But you can drop him in. Let me try and get rid of some of this. He rides down this hill, and then he doesn't do much.
I can't believe
on my rubbish line.
You've managed.
And now
all you did was draw one line, and you can't even get him to go down one. You just killed him.
I thought that was pretty good. His little sled hit him down in the face.
Line aside.
And that's pretty much it. There's some really elaborate stuff available online, none of which that I have the skill available to do. But you can do some really nice stuff, and it's just a really simple game where you you just play around with it, and half the fun is just seeing what
watching him
happens,
play.
just watching him die. Yeah, I mean, it has to be mentioned as well that this is £1.79 to download.
Yeah.
And I've definitely had my money's worth out of it right now, just watching this little guy
like
splat
£3 of value.
around. But I think you're right. There's a lot of like Flash games out there that are perfect for this. It uses the touch screen, which I think is one of the best parts about the iPhone as a gaming platform. It doesn't mess around with the accelerometer, which I think is one of the least successful parts about it.
Yeah.
When you're playing Monkey Ball, you have to tilt the.
I hate
controller,
that.
and it's counterintuitive because you want to see what's going on, and you're tilting it
Away from your
face.
face,
which
I
is-
really have to say that any game developer out there that thinks that using the tilting mechanism as a control mechanism works really should stop in their tracks, because I think it's terrible. Any game where you have to move the screen, you just stop seeing what you're doing. It's
What about if
terrible.
you had to use like a Wii remote, like if you could just flick it or something like that?
So there are a few games out like that, like Eyeball. Have you guys played Eyeball?
I haven't known.
No,
Shall
we'll
I
have a
show you?
look. Have a look in a sec. Let's show us Eyeball. Yeah.
So this is Eyeball.
So there's a bunch of whatever.
Yeah,
stuff.
there's Eyeball, iBaseball, iGolf, and these are one of the only set of games that I think the accelerometer is worth using, because it's basically taking the Wii games idea and porting it to the iPhone. So what you do is you line your bowling ball up like that, hold down on there, and then
Nice.
and with your movement it then swings the ball, which is cool. I mean,
And does it take into effect, like the deviation of your swing? Can you put like spin on it and stuff?
I don't think it does, but it might do. I might just be really bad at this game. But I think that it works because it's very short-term usage. Like you press it and it's gone, right? Games that where you have to use the accelerometer the entire time, that's when it gets frustrating. So as a control mechanism, I don't think it works. But in terms of using it as a kind of gaming mechanism where you're just using one move,
Like the phone saver.
yes.
Who could forget?
Who could forget?
Saber.
The phone saver. But are there any other games out there that you guys have been playing that you really like?
Yeah, so I tend to have gone for some of the free games, because there's a lot of them are actually not too bad.
And you're cheap.
And I'm cheap. Yeah, I'm a
Free
tight
games are
ass.
good. Free games are good.
So this one's called Touch Hockey. You have to put up with ads like that to try and buy their other games. But basically, it's a 1 or 2 player hockey game. Do you want to have a go with me, guys?
Yeah, okay.
Basically, you just put your hand on the whatever you call it,
Oh yeah.
the puck, and you just got to hit it back and forth.
That's quite
obviously.
cool.
Yeah, and it saves you a couple of pounds at the pub.
I've never seen this in a pub, unfortunately.
Oh, haven't
I've
you?
seen it in an arcade.
There
Nice.
you go. But yeah, I mean, it's very straightforward.
The last kind of gaming related thing I want. Have you got that? What was it called? That Elite thing.
Oh yeah, the
Leap.pwn.
leappoon.com.
Leap.
Phone.
Yeah, so this is a free application. It's not a game, but it's obviously Xbox Live gamer tags. So you can just keep tab of what all your
friends
up
are
to.
doing. Yeah.
It doesn't work perfectly. I've had a bit of a play with it. It's kind of a bit slow, and it kind of craps out a little bit if there's too much information.
Sure.
Because it's updating at the moment. But you can still kind of work out what your mates are up to. The only thing is, I haven't found a way. I don't think you can actually put all your online friends at the top.
Right.
So you've kind of just got to scroll through the whole list to find out who's online.
Does it tell you who's online at the moment? Oh yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
So Chill Rage AU's online. And then you get a bit
So it
of
just
details.
streams all this over Wi-Fi, and it's
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you can see he's played Gears of War 2,
Cool.
Dirt and stuff.
Yeah, how many points he's got. I think
There's so much
very cool.
potential. There's so much potential for stuff
For
like
these
that.
little apps,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah,
Apps-
and there's
apps
obviously
that-
ads
yeah.
in it and stuff like that. But yeah, like just simple apps that do one function.
Can I quickly sneak in one more game?
Yeah, of course.
I just want to show you Fuzzle. It's like Connect 4, except you need to connect 5.
So you need to connect the coloured dots within
Yeah.
within 5 spaces.
Yeah, so you need to do 5 in a row. You can do it diagonally. So for example, here, if I add that one there you go. It's really simple. But again, what I like about Fuzzle is just that it's really addictive, and it's one of those games that you just play and play and play and play. And I just found myself playing this a lot.
So where's the challenge? Do you have to do it in a fewer moves
So
as possible?
and when you don't get it right, if I do that, for example, you'll notice that the screen starts to fill up.
Yeah.
And the aim is to get as many points as possible before the whole screen fills up with little Fuzzle balls.
So it's almost like Tetris a bit. You have to get
In
lines.
some way, yeah. It's kind of it's a combination of Tetris and Connect 4. But if let's say I do loads of moves like this, you
Yeah,
can
it's
see
throwing
that
in loads of
it
random
starts
colours, isn't
it starts throwing in loads more, and you get to the point where you can't move, and it's really sad. And I've been on the tube on many a night where my screen is full of balls, and I get really upset because I can't. I'm like, oh, if only, because what it doesn't let you do is you can't cross over a line. You see how that went red? No, you can only go in free space. So it's very challenging. It's very challenging, really simple, and I really like it.
That's all for another edition of Start Select. Coming up on next show, we're going to be doing a recap from Atari's upcoming Gamers Day, and we'll see you again in a fortnight's time.